I think it shaped us in terms of thinking. It shaped us in terms of delivering positive changes to people's lives. And when you are helping somebody get a job, right? It's a big thing. It's a big thing. And that gave a different meaning to life and purpose. And I think that is what anchored me to HR and sustain even today when somebody calls and says, can you help me on this? It's a different dimension that you're looking at yourself, that you are a facilitator to empower somebody's lives and achieve their dreams, and that's a beautiful journey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the episode 15 of the Leader Speak podcast. Today, we have person who have more than 25 years in experience HR in different industries, banking, telecom, IT, and manufacturing. His name is Mr. Srinath Gururaj Rao. Recently got India HR Icon in 2025 by Transformance. He got recognized top 100 great people manager in 2021 by Great Manager Institute and Forbes. Recently, he is in top 200 thought leader by People Hum. He has 7 intellectual property in his name for HR technology. Let's dive in to continue the conversation with Srinath. Thank you, Srinath, for coming the episode 15, the Leaders Speak podcast. First of all, thank you so much for coming. You would like to share about your personal life, where you born, what is your education? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Suraj. I think Leaders Podcast has been a great vibe among the HR fraternity and waste shift fraternity. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me and giving an opportunity to share my thoughts, experiences, and the journeys. I hope this will definitely benefit my listeners and your great audience. So journey has been a amazing journey. One of very fortunate to be in the space of HR. Helping people grow, realize their dreams and aspirations. Never planned for it. Basically an engineer, grew up in Bangalore, third generation Bangalorean.
You're born in Bangalore?
Yes.
All education in Bangalore only?
All education in Bangalore, business, sir. Right from nursery to degree. We were in same school. We were run by the Bharat Electronics, factory. Yes, BA. So dad was an employee there, and we grew up in a joint family. Very amazing experience, and has seen Bangalore grow up so much, right? And what it taught us was to be able to be collaborative. Diversity was an in thing even before the IT boom happened in Bangalore. Right, it taught us to learn multiple languages. You speak to any old Bangalorean, they are well versed in multiple languages. This is because of the sheer diversity of the space city. HR happened to me by chance, right? So I always thought HR was, people function. You could do great things to people, with people, and enjoy the ride. But after 2.5 decades in HR, what I realized was Excel sheets were more, and conflict resolution was higher than UN peacekeepers probably. Okay. Right? But then, it laid a good foundation in terms of when I started my journey in HR. We were working for a BPO, what we call GCCs today, right? Global Capability Centers, doing benefits administration for a few hundred organizations in the US. So that gave me an early picture of how a organization is set up in terms of policies, frames, enabling people to achieve, their dreams through the work that we perform. So as a leader, that shaped my initial thoughts. And then also great influence was how we were brought up from a very humble middle class, family. Learning arts, learning, different. I should also share with my audience, I'm a classical Veena player. Oh, Adish, my junior and senior, right? So a great foundation. And Bangalore was a great art and culture center apart from Mysore in those days, and even now, for that matter. So it laid a very grounded, foundation to me in terms of enabling, collaborating, working with people. I always perform better in group settings rather than individual settings. So that helped me, see the potential that you carry to be able to deliver value, create impact, and positive impact in people's lives. Like, and when you hire a person, hire a talent, you see the joy that that person realizes when an offer goes out and he comes back and thanks you. That's a transformation of a small step in a person's life. And when you're able to channelize that and you become the anchor to facilitate those things, you're actually empowering, the like talent across. So that gave me a different kind of energy to be able to come and deliver and continuously do these and see what improvements can be done. There were amazing stories, right? When uh, recently, last year, we hired some rural candidates from one of the oldest institutions set up by Sir Vishwesvaraya, UVC. Okay. Right? I saw a segment of people who were absolutely from very rural and backward regions of Karnataka, right? And when you went and, pitched for jobs and roles, the kind of hunger that they showed to be able to succeed in life is a different dimension altogether, right? You're not only matching a job role to the skill and competency of an individual, but also facilitating their foundational social fabric elevation, right? You're empowering them to be able to do that journey and succeed in life. Some of them were vegetable vendors, children of vegetable vendors, children who collected garbage in different functions, not to take away the respect of those roles, but they had come and achieved something, completing their education in a very difficult setting. So you're bringing in equity, you're bringing in empowerment to social classes where you're actually a small catalyst in bringing their lives upwards. Yeah, that is a kick that you'll never get it doing anything.
100%. I agree on that. See, as you mentioned, like the background education is engineering, right? Yes, good on engineering. And I'm just actually curious about whenever someone asks me, I'm background of sales basically, okay? If someone asks me why you choose as a sales, why not any other profession, right? And because that sales, the connections, the meeting new people, that inspire me to take the job, right? And I love to meet new people. Like that is the purpose of I'm doing podcast with the new people to build that kind of connection, build that kind of relationship. If you ask one thing that what made you to, because you have a technical background and this HR is totally different, right? Because what made you choose HR? I know you told me that HR is by choice, not it's just not a choice, right? Like you told, like what made one thing that okay, I need to continue this profession, the HR.
Amazing question. I think one thing that stands out is ability to change and transform lives around. Ultimately, every identity that you're associated with, organization, social fabric, city, the growth trajectories, everything is related to the individual human being, right? Correct. HR is one such role where we could actually impact positively at all stages of your career and impact the transformation that is necessary, which is not yours, but which is to another individual who is aspiring to do the journey, right? And this profound realization came much later in the years. Initially, it was a choice that you had and which filled your pockets in terms of what you could do, right? You're a bachelor, you're unmarried, right? You're trying to set up your life and journey a portion. But the best part was I loved the way that HR conducted itself initially, where you could draw policies, where you could see that those policies are actually helping somebody move up and do well, right? Policies such as leaves, the flexibility around leaves, right? Policies such as remuneration. How do you craft remuneration to be able to give that individual and reward which is fulfilling and still motivate that person continuously to do your roles that you have crafted for the organization? I think those small bits in collective told me that this is the job that you need to do. I was very bad at communication, right? Today I talk a little bit of fluent, English. In those days, it was tough for a native Kannada speaker to be able to talk fluently. Since it was which year you talking about? Like this was 99. Acha, great. Say initial first, a couple of BPOs that coming up and stuff. So we were all of us, including HR, the operations roles, were put together to a 2 week culture and assessment, English speaking course. So we learned our tricks. We had to literally mug up. I had a dream from Martin Luther, right, and narrate it and put it back. So I think it shaped us in terms of thinking. It shaped us in terms of delivering positive changes to people's lives. And when you are helping somebody get a job, right, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. And that gave a different meaning to life and purpose. And I think that is what anchored me to HR and sustain. Even today, when somebody calls and says, can you help me on this? It's a different, dimension that you're looking at yourself, that you are a facilitator to empower somebody's lives and achieve their dreams. And that's a beautiful, journey.
That's good. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. And you mentioned in the talk that you hire a couple of people from rural area, right? Yes, you are the empowering them. Correct. When you compare with the metropolitan city, when you compare with rural, definitely I feel that there is a language problem because I face initially same things. How do you compare? Like, I know they'll be having talent, and based on the attitude you want to select these people, or you want to empower because of their into rural area.
I think language has never been a barrier to do a job which is highly skilled or competent.
Okay.
Right? Ultimately, you'll have to train somebody to align it to your business goals,
Absolutely.
what you need as an organization, and shape the trajectory of growth of the organization with the choices and performance of the individuals. To do that, when you put a barrier of language, you're actually taking away the skill that is that could be evaluated and shaped. Right? We look at people or talent from the lens of how they would perform, irrespective of the language that they speak. The beauty of that is when you filter and see and uh, engage people to say either they are a select or a reject through the lens of grammar, through the lens of language. Okay, somewhere we are compromising their ability and the right fit for the organization. There have been tremendous examples of people who have come and shaped history, transformed things, not because they were sound in the language that was needed, right? Ultimately, language, I believe, is the ability to communicate effectively and the other party to, who is an audience, to understand that effectively, right? So that is a channel of communication. So I'll give you a beautiful example. That really, I'll just, in 2004, we were in Vizag, in Geetam University. We were doing hiring en masse, probably about 300 to 400 people. Campus interview. Yes. So I had, some rejects who came to me, saying that first level of assessment, which was communication, rejects, but they had good, solid, the foundational skills of computer science, mathematics, statistics, and so on. So my supervisor said, my manager said, why don't you take a look at it and see if they can fit in the HR role? I said communication is important there, right? So, but let me check. So I had a few candidates there sitting across, and what I said was I gave them a process manual, a standard operating procedure manual of HR process, and said, go through this and come back and tell me with a flow chart. You don't have to write in English, in a flow chart, because they were all computer science, mathematics background, and tell me what could be better. So there was this sharp girl, who dissected a 12-page manual and came back with a 4-page flow chart, and also told me that, Srinath, this is wrong. This is how it could be done better.
Oh my God.
So, and her language, she had scored, not to the average in the communication part of it. That was a game changer for me in terms of understanding people much better. Not look at them from the lens of language alone, but their abilities, their inherent capacities, their ability to think, critical thinking. These are aspects that leaders should actually assess, or whoever assesses talent should look at. Of course, communication is important for growth, for elevation, to be able to be effective over a period of time. You need that as a language, but then it is not necessarily underlined by English alone. We are a country where every parameters, food choices change and the language changes, right? So then this girl, as a fresher, she shared my first patent intellectual property with me on an HR process.
Wow.
Right? And few years down the line, we shared about 4 or 5 different patents altogether. and then she's in a leadership role in a global MNC today. Right? So this is the change that you see and feel proud that you were part of that, and the simple reason that you changed the way that you looked at things and how you assess people, differentiated a different journey which was more unique and which was more impactful. I think this changed. After that, I went about a lot of rural colleges, hired a lot of people who were from agricultural background. We also did our first engagement with Rural Shores, which was the first BPO set up in a Chikbalapur village in Bangalore. It was the first for India, if I'm correct. We started engaging them, and they were part-time farmers, part-time processors for HR processes. So I think these perspectives gave me a different meaning altogether in terms of what I could do and what we could enhance in terms of making it more effective, more inclusive. We talk here a lot of about diversity, inclusion, social impact, but these are life-changing moments which you could actually practice and bring it into the threads of a daily routine of an HR professional.
Yeah. No, you put it very beautifully, story, because these kind of stories going to help a lot of people. Because I also went through when I started my sales career, because there was a problem with language problem. But as you mentioned rightly, that once you get an opportunity, you can build that kind of communication skills. They learn the course of time. Absolutely. And definitely, I also doing same thing. Definitely, I relate with the story what we're talking about. Thank you so much. The best story what I understand, because you need to give so many people opportunity. When you start empowering rural people, the our economy going to change. There's a lot of creativity people going to come out. So that's absolutely agree on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you when we were hiring for manufacturing, right? All of them were local rural masses, right? How do you come and train them in the language that they understand? Ultimately, what you need is they have to assemble your parts. They have to make a beautiful scooter out of it, and then ensure that they learn from there and grow from there. So, language is the last part that I would look at. I would look at how skilled they are, what is their outlook in terms of learning ability, agility to do different things, pick up stuff from where it is let off, and then learn. So we not only put in parameters of assessment where language was not a barrier, we went and interviewed them in their local languages, right? And we were much more effective. They were more happy. Next time around, when I did a job interview advertisement, I had 500 people walking in for 10 roles. Sure. Right? Because the word had spread that these guys, are not looking at language. Correct. And they were all rural folks. We were able to accommodate some of them because the vacancies were there. But the promise of touching their hearts through the languages, some say the satisfaction is through the stomach. Here it is through the language. India is so diverse.
Absolutely. Yeah. And these kind of things make the people who don't are underconfident when it comes to language, they boost the energy. Absolutely. And they build the confidence within them. And they need one opportunity to overcome that part. I mean, thank you so much for you and your seniors and your team that you've given so many people opportunity to come up in their life. Thank you so much for saying that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a life's calling. I also realized that, one of the premier space agencies in India hires from this institute because they were from rural background. And I think as we journey as HR professionals, we always look at not only how we could impact individual organization, but the society at large.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? This is a calling. This is also the thing that I learned from Jack Welch, reading, straight from the gut. He references how they built factories in and around rural population, and entire population of that village or that small city or small town were employed in this organization. That was not just a means of making a profitable venture, but also means of lifting the social masses through their lives, right? So it's very transformative if you look at it. So HR has been a platform, I think, which is the most suited to impact lives, through the work. That
absolutely agree on that. Yeah, I'm just going through your LinkedIn profile, and I love that you put every day that single line quote, right? Oh yes. What made you to put those?
I started it like almost 8-9 years back. And I used to follow Dr. Rajan, taking his name digitally, and he would put these quotes on a everyday basis, right? And these were very impactful, very short, and then to the point. So I said, let me mimic and see if I can reflect on my learnings each day and share some of those if it helps. And also, writing is a mode where you tend to put out your ideas and make it crystallized, right? So that you can move on. So it's kind of a daily notes for me where I exchange my thoughts, whatever I read, I experience, and then put that. So I started this free scope, and one day I plan to bring out a book, of collective wisdom and see, of course, not all of them are up to the mark, but we're doing 5, 6 a day. Gives you at least one or two which are good and which could be consumed and which should be held.
Yeah, I personally love that a single line code. Yeah. So please do continue. Sure. Thank. And I was just going to the profile. In that you mentioned when you are that merger of my Tech Mahindra is taken by Satyam, right? Yeah. That particular moment, the particular situation, or the particular year of merger, how look at HR position? Like, what is the role of HR in that kind of a merger? Because one of the biggest merger in
Very, very interesting question, Basura. Thank you for asking, because this is not off shared in many forums. That was the Satyam takeover by TechM was one of the largest in the Indian IT space, right? And it also brought together a lot of uh, challenges to the organization in sustaining businesses, in sustaining continuity of careers for a lot of uh, employees there during the scandalous period that it went through. However, as an HR, this was more duty bound to be able to not only experience a challenge to your personal self, but also to be able to take care and address the people's lives who are associated there, who are going through a severe uncertainty period. That's correct. But it all ended with a wonderful acquisition. Those were also the periods when I got to work with the legends of the board, from Deepak Parekh to Kiran Karnik to SEBI chairman Damodaran. Very close quarters as investor relations person who was providing information about HR and talent to the investors, right? So one thing that I learned very profoundly from each of them is each of them were able to go influence the existing clients to not discontinue their contracts with the organization because it had gone through a severe phase of challenge, but continue so that the organization could sustain and grow, and a better fold could come out of that. So once Tekken was shortlisted, those things kind of amalgamated, and we did not lose many people, we did not lose many contracts, and continuity was there, and it was huge in the Indian landscape. What that taught us was how important ethics, integrity, and ability to empower and be empathetic to your people as HR professionals is very important, and also being resilient to the situation so that you can brace those challenging winds and still sail and together collectively. So this was a big lesson in terms of merger and acquisition. From a policy frame side of it, we were present in almost 70, 80 countries by then. Once the acquisition took place, we had to make the policies uniform, drop the rebanding exercise in terms of compensation structures, full lot of operational background aspects of integrating two different organizations had to be done, which is a classic case of understanding the nature of each unit, each physical entity that is present in each different country, their laws as applicable in terms of compliance standards, and aligning that to the global business goals and global objectives of the new organization, and align it to be able to make that perform, right? Not only sustain.
Correct.
So, because you're moving from a period of uncertainty to a period of complete change, and your value systems have changed, your focus has changed, right? But still, the operational fabric that holds the organizations together has to be integrated, right? And that change brings a lot of uncertainty in the second layer to be able to merge. So culture plays a lot of vital role in terms of bringing that empathy to the table and seeing all aspects of integration from the lens of being human, right? Which is very vital. That taught us to be humble, to be able to walk with the shoulder with the employees and still do what is necessary for business objectives. It was a tough moment. It was a very balancing, highly balancing act. But then we were able to come and do the work, and we did not face many challenges as such in terms of people not accepting the change. Right, that was a very you know it went from a very downward moment from the challenge of financial challenge that the organization faced to a moment where everything went well. In the very first month after acquisition, we had we were to hire about 500 people, right? None of the vendors, none of the contracting vendors, manpower vendors were able to willing to work with us because they were also uncertain whether payments would get us on or not, right? So, but then we did manage to hire, we did set up the shop, and we ensured that new clients walked in. I think that was a very peak moment for us.
Correct. I think, you are there more than 25 years experience in HR.
Yes.
Acha. Now, present as a HR leader, when you want to look at that incident, like the merger, what is your three takeaway from that merger? Can just share?
Oh yeah.
And, because that's one of the best things we can share with the audience, because this is one in a case will come now when HR people involved in that kind of merger or acquisition. We know that it's a big corporation, right? If you as a HR now, as a HR leader, if you think that what is the three takeaway for you that particular merger
Yeah, I think
as a HR?
sure. As an HR guy, it is very important to dealing processes with empathy
Okay.
and always focus on being human with your people. The second most important aspect is to collaborate well. If you don't not collaborate or just trust policies as a process, people would definitely not accept, irrespective of how intelligently it is crafted. The third most important aspect is to be able to communicate. Right? When you collaborate, you have to communicate and communicate more, if not less. Right? The more you communicate, even if it is there has never been a over communication because people require that communication. So communication is very important to hold the fabric of the organization and deal with uncertainties. So in both the organizations in major acquisitions that I played a part, one was, Satyam to TechM, and then Patni Computers to iGate, and then Capgemini. The communication aspect was very, very vital. We were ensuring that every aspect of change is communicated to all the stakeholders and doubts are clarified. And HR played a vital role in holding the, spokes of that wheel to be able to make it not only sustain but run. Right? If we had not done that, we would have probably not succeeded in our mergers and acquisition. You could merge two policies, you could revamp the contracts, you could do all of that. But if your people don't accept it, irrespective of how logical, how rational it is, you're not going to win. Right? That's an important aspect and a learning that I took away. And I suggest my HR friends to also adhere to. I think these are very important. I think you couple of merger you are witness, right? You mentioned these two and another like Highgate and Patni. I think you are master the skill of merger in when it's come to HR, right? There has been nothing, mastering a skill. Learning is always continuous, and I've dealt with large failures myself, right in my life, and I believe in the principle. I learned it through Akio Morita's book on Sony, right? Where the Japanese principle of kintsugi, right? When something is broken, you make it much better. So I've always looked at my failures, personal failures, organizations' failures from the lens of what I could do better now that there is an opportunity where something has not worked. Right. So that has helped immensely over the years to be able to craft something better when things have broken, including personal space in terms of life, family, some of the goals that could not be achieved. Right. Life is always challenging. It is not a hunky dory, path that is laid out. So it has helped me immensely in terms of understanding HR much better and work towards creating these wonderful spaces.
Mm. Correct. And as you mentioned, culture, okay? So definitely, when you have a two family, there is a different culture. We come with a different culture. When the merger happened, as you know that because Tech Mahindra was not that name earlier before acquiring the Satyam, right? And they more into automobile industries. And when they acquired the Satyam, as a HR, what the culture difference was there in two organization? Because two big corporation, is it organic culture was difference in those the organization?
I think the unique differences were strengths of both the organizations. While the acquiring company came from a very traditional automotive background, and very highly skilled and knew how to structure and create beautiful products. Whilst the same thing, the acquired company had the strength of capability, processes steeped in deep thinking abilities and influencing global scale changes in terms of all the practices, right? We were one of the pioneers in setting up a fantastic performance management system in Satyam. We were pioneers in creating a beautiful integrated organizations across the globe. Every KPI that rolled down from the top or rolled up from the bottom were integrated with the entire architecture of the organization via a beautiful system of performance management. Every manager in the organization knew exactly what their KPIs were and how they were on a graph which was called as North Star. So though the culture was different, it was unique and it was complementing to each other. Right? And it never clashed. It never clashed. And where there were similarities, there were opportunities also elsewhere where that could be delved a little more differently. So this way the success of the combined entity grew much farther, and today it is a hugely successful organization in the Indian space. I think the foundations of it was laid where the complementing abilities of two different mammoth organizations came together. I think though the challenge made them better, and today it is a much different and uniquely positioned organization.
Correct. Yeah, in our conversation, you mentioned couple of times that books. What are the books? Are you fond of book reader or you really every day?
Oh yes, I read every day. I like at least 10-15 pages each day without fail.
Amazing.
Yeah, I no, got this habit right from seventh standard. We used to have mobile libraries from city central library coming to every area, and my favorites I started with Asterix and Tintins, and then I grew up reading business books, and the most profound impact I've had is from Akio Sumi, Peter Senge's learning organizations, and then straight from the gut from Jack Welch and a host of others. I mean, I could I enjoy and I become better in terms of understanding my own self when I reflect on the pages of the books, right? And then I go and try my stuff on what I do in terms of bringing in that knowledge, because it is impossible to experience all of it, and that experience could be collapsed while reading different genres, different people, different practices elsewhere, and you could make your life much more enriched.
Correct. And any book you want to suggest, like 2-3 books for the audience that start with these books that are going to help you a lot. Maybe it's personal development or professional.
Yeah,
Next even.
I would suggest one great book which is called Richard Feynman's book. Right, Richard Feynman was a nuclear physicist who was working on the first Manhattan project, which developed nuclear bomb, and under Oppenheimer. Right, so this his autobiography is an amazing book about how entrepreneurial, how innovative as a young kid, and he grows up to become a scientist, and it is delves with all aspects of innovation, curiosity, awareness about self, and the humor he brings into each element. This book also taught me about his own experience when I want to share a little bit about we hear a lot of assessment tools, assessments these days, right? So Feynman during World War II is asked to get drafted in the military there. Okay, this man is heavily bent on science, and he doesn't want to do anything else apart from being a scientist or in the sciences faculty. So he keeps scratching his head and what do I do? What do I do? He goes and attends the interview with the military, and the final test is a psychometric analysis. So this man is so brilliant, even at 22, he goes and does the test, psychometric Briggs type indicator, where he wrongly marks certain answers and makes it look like that he is not stable mentally. So the result comes out and the general calls him and says, "You're rejected, because you're mentally unstable." This man said, "Oh, is it? Thank you very much." And he walks out and then he laughs out, saying, "This is exactly what I wanted." So I think that shows two, three elements, right? Apart from, he answered it wrong and stuff. Uh, on the other aspects of his genius, his duty towards science of what his purpose was and what his passion was aligned towards. Right? And later he becomes a great scientist, and he works on the same project where the general who rejected him is appointed as a chief of security. Oh, is it right? And then he goes and confesses that this is what I did because I wanted to be here, and they became great friends throughout life. I think this shows that the other dimension is human capability. Never write off anybody on any aspect of assessment just because you think that the frame of construct of evaluation is limiting the understanding of the other human potential. So you could really take anything and make it into anything better if you have the will and attitude and the focus and energy that is required to convert that. Right. So in business, we deal with these problems every day in terms of certain limiting aspects and a particular assessment, evaluating a certain thing into one or two compartments and say, this is what it is. It is only to ease a process, but it is not a definitive authority in saying or rejecting a yes or a no on a particular trait. Right? So, human capability, human spirit, human endeavor is always much, much bigger than the assessment tools. So, this is a great lesson for all HR folks to be not bound by the assessment alone.
Absolutely. See how much you put input. Beautifully, you told that. See, we don't know that how we're going to connect HR a book you're going to read. There's a lot of knowledge we're going to
absolutely. And that's one book that I suggest. Another one is Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt. He started a Goldratt Institute of Theory of Constraints, which focuses exclusively on manufacturing domain. And that book taught me about how to deal with different problems, different conflicts, different challenges you face in life, methodical. And he narrates the entire conversation as a book, as a story about a family and a business, and how he turns around the business entirely as a manufacturing unit, and what are the elements by changing the accounting principles, by changing the way what you measure, and when constraints are faced with, what are the things that you necessarily need to do. It's a beautiful book. I suggest these two books up to all my readers and audiences.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. As you know that there is a lot of tension happening in the world about countries. No war is happening. Is Russia and Ukraine, then Israel and Palestine. That's happening, and what is happening between India and Pakistan. How this kind of situation, how this kind of atmosphere going to affect organization, like, because I believe HR is not only the policy maker now, and there's a lot of changes happen from last couple of decades, and you need to be intact with the employee, you need to be intact with the management. How do you see this kind of situation in the organization?
I think,
as HR?
Yeah, great question, Basuraj. Again, environmental challenges have played a huge role in how it has shaped organization throughout history. Right from World War I, II, III, three is in fragmented portions, if I want to call it three. But then, environmental geopolitical impacts on organization, the way business is conducted, especially the tariffs came off, and then the continued uncertainty of supply chain issues continue. But one thing, again, applying the principle of Kintagi, which is a Japanese style of seeing imperfections and seeing how you could improve. If you look at tariffs, the one thing that shows is, if you cut down the supply chain from elsewhere, what are you going to do yourself? And Make in India is a great example. The Simple Energy is a great example of a Make in India organization, right? So every challenge will throw itself at you to ensure that you come out something which is better than what you are currently. Right. So your thinking will change, your dimensions of thoughts in terms of analyzing the problems change. But it does affect. Every change has affected, not only because a war is being played out, a tariff is being thrown at you, any circumstances which pose a change from the set paradigm will always challenge your status quo. Right. That is when organizations need to shape. As an HR, it is very imperative for us to go again, put a hand on the shoulder of the employee and say, you know what, this is an opportunity. It is not a threat alone. This is an opportunity for you to do something bigger, something better. In one of the organizations, the performance management was evaluated. The KPIs were evaluated by 5 hours, rather 6 hours. Faster, better, cheaper, steadier, larger, framework. And how do you do each of these in whatever you do to enable outcomes? Correct. Right. So if you look at it from that lens, you're going to do better each time there is a challenge and not actually become very anxious about the challenge. The thing about anxiety, fear, uncertainty is lacking in knowledge of how to deal with that until you explore that aspect and become more knowledgeable and change yourself to deal with those set of challenges. So, therefore, here the tools we use as leaders, as HR folks, as organization businesses is needs a thorough change in how you deal with these situations. Right? You need a better tool, a better thinking, and be innovative to deal with these. That is my philosophy.
Absolutely, yeah. And you are witness a big merger in your life, and now you are working on of the EV company. That's totally different, right? Those into like tech background, and now you're working in a manufacturing things. What made you to choose coming to manufacturing?
Oh, yeah. Yes, great question. I think I had a mentor, in my early days who always used to say, as an HR, person, you need to work in a global setup. You need to at least work in, Mumbai zone as an HR, and you should work in a manufacturing organization. So last 20 years, I had not, set my foot in the manufacturing door. So there were offshoots of processes which had been outsourced and stuff in the IT setup. Uh, but I made this was a great opportunity for me to understand manufacturing, learn from it, and set up something which was a future. Right, the electric vehicle is a future of the mobility. So therefore, this is a great opportunity, and that is what made me think that this is the right set of decision that I could make in terms of my career. And I met up with the amazing founders at Simple who were amazing, brilliant engineers themselves, who were thinking about the future, not just, 20, 30 years, but 100 years down the line, right? We were one of the companies who had cracked the mileage issue, which is called range in the EV. Okay. Right. And we had sustained that innovative capability or lead in terms of 200 plus kilometers for 3 years, before which even the biggest organizations came on that boat, right? So it's only now last couple of months that the competitors have announced 200 plus range, right? Simple had cracked it way before any of them, even with deeper pockets. So that showed the innovation ability, and that made me realize that this is the future. Young is always the demographic dividend, as our Prime Minister puts it, is the dividend that you need to leverage on to build organization of Red2. So that gave me more energy as I put in, decades of work in HR. This made me look at things differently, and I would be more enthused with more energy each day to be able to go and learn new things and be part of a system which is growing and building something bigger than myself. And also, I enjoyed thoroughly. As an HR guy, I was also responsible for setting up the new plant, greenfield plant, completely ground up, setting up a lab which was there in Durbalapur, a proto-testing lab, completely greenfield, and also build an engineering team out here to be able to bring that whole organization together in terms of a lab, in terms of a manufacturing facility, and the engineering aspect. So as an HR guy, to be able to create something new and see that to fruition is something very, very enjoyable personally, right? It's not about paychecks, it's not about processes, it's just about seeing something coming to life, and beating the best and keeping that innovation edge for 3 years sustaining when deeper pockets, deeper competition, better competition is out there, right? So that gave me a different dimension of ability, and it was thoroughly enjoyable, and I loved it. I was also one of the uh, fortunate HR guys who launched the first product of the company, scooter. So who was at that event. So these are personal, goals which you thrive and is there in your memory for a lifetime.
That's true. That's true. I know you were in EV industries, and like let's say 3 to 4 years earlier, there is no awareness about that. There's awareness was there like about EV, electric, and now the people are moving towards it, and people start buying the like EV car or scooters, and there's a lot of changes happening in the society that everyone's moving towards sustainability and all. Uh, what you would take that, let's say, next 5 years, what change is going to happen here uh, in EV or in sustainability? How it will go forward? Like,
Amazing question. I think EVs and alternative forms of fuel uh, is going to change dramatically. Why I say that is, if you look at the percentage of, from a business parlance, percentage of penetration of EVs as a total volume of sales in India, today it's only 5%. This is only really scratching all the vehicles sold. Right? We sell about crores of vehicles each year, and of that it is only in few lakhs that every year that EVs are penetrating. So the opportunity size is huge in terms of what you could transform from a traditional fuel system to alternate fuel system. Also from a fact that this is very much needed to be able to move away from traditional fuels, which is fossil fuels, to be able to make our environment much better, to make sustainable practices much more stronger, and air that we breathe much more healthier, right? Which is very, very elementary, because most of the pollution that forms is from mobility, right? If you go on a bike in Bangalore, half an hour of ride gets the soot on your face, right? And it's very evident. You don't have to. So mobility transformation through EVs and other alternate fuel system, which is like hydrogen, which is coming up, and others, will definitely make a significant impact in urban and rural mobility, and transform the way we look at how we can build a better society for our future and our kids. There's a beautiful saying that the time that you spend here is not yours, but the time you borrowed from your children's future, right? Which is very profound, and the nature of how sustainability as a practice is very essential today. It is no more a must have, or something else. It is very, very essential and necessary for us to bring this paradigm shift and educate our folks to become more conscious of the environment and how we treat our environment. Correct. So fossil fuels have always been, throwing that pollution. Of course, the significant changes, policy dimensions that have come from BS standard, Bharat standard on pollution from 1 to 6 now, has made improvement. But definitely, this is a dramatic shift from how it was tackled. It was incremental earlier. Now it is completely shifting to a different form, which is much better. The best part of it is not only urban mobility in terms of two-wheelers and three-wheelers and four-wheelers, it is also bigger units, right? I met a gentleman from Defense Forces who is set up a committee looking at how all the vehicles in use by the forces can be made into an EM, right? So this is significant if you look at it from what the future holds for us in terms of sustainable practices. This is one significant moment in Earth's history where a significant step is taking forward, because imagine 1 billion people moving from one place to another place every day for work, for other purposes, right? You're transforming how each one is going mobile every day. So this is a very significant step, and hope future holds very, very.
definitely, yeah, definitely have brighter future in ESN. And as you know, that there is a lot of change happen the industries to industries, domain to domain, and as a HR also, you know that there is a lot of changes happen in technology wise.
True.
Like there is a AI, ChatGPT, and lot of technology. How you occupied, like as a HR, how you upskill yourself, how you update yourself to face those kind of challenges as a HR.
Oh, wonderful. I think this is a very relevant topic for today's genre and HR as well. I just had a summit on AI recently with a HR chapter in Hosur.
Oh, is it manufacturing or a
AI in HR is very, very relevant. It brings systems and practices more transparent, more standardized, and personalized, right? Which is what we always strive for in terms of personalization. Of course, with a bit of element of human intervention at each step, because the scalable linear systems are perfect, but imperfect when it comes to understanding human spirit that we talked about earlier in the podcast, and the human empathy aspects in terms of how and why a person needs to be onboarded. For example, when you're using a AI system as a recruitment, uh, in the aspects of rejection, in the aspects of selection, are there any biases that play out? Right, but AI as a system is wonderful. It gives you scale, it gives you transparency. As I said, it gives you amazing results at a very short time. Right, but you need to be conscious of having that human element present at each step to be able to ensure that the real goal of making a human endeavor much better is always imprinted in the journey. Right, we also won the AI in HR Excellence Award in 24 for using AI in HR by Mercer. Right, so this was a very amazing project where we utilized AI to predict the probability of repeating illnesses amongst your employees and craft a strategy of engagement and well-being to ensure the illnesses recurring reduces. Absenteeism reduced from 18 to 6%. We got it dramatically by using this. And with the help of your insurance providers, we were able to craft a better continuing strategy to be able to contain attrition, hence consume lesser resources, hence make a positive impact on your EBIT. Right. So that is what AI can do. AI is a great collaborator. It is an amazing tool at which can be used from hire to retire processes to making it more effective in communication, in calculations, in drawing up processes. The wonderful part of AI usage is how contracts can be made better when you use AI for drawing up a contract with an organization. So I think these are some of the broad facets that AI is making tremendous change. To quote a HR legend here recently, by 2030, anybody, this is a prediction that I would also say watch for. By 2030, anybody sitting in front of a computer and working on a system will be taken over by AI, from ranging from 30% to 100%, depending on the roles and jobs that they perform today. If the more linearity to a aspect of or repeatability to aspect of a job role, those will definitely get replaced. So it is time for all my friends to think how you will reshape yourself, reskill yourself to shape your career in the future. By 2030, that is going to dramatically definitely happen.
Acha, acha. And then it is true that because of AI and there is a lot of people going to lose their job, irrespective of any function I'm talking about, even though HRO, sales, marketing, anything.
Yes.
Is it true that going to happen?
It is not, I would say it would become more agile.
Okay.
Obviously, there will be some roles which have linear patterns in terms of repeatability, gets taken over by AI, but also it will enhance the capability to upskill oneself and change yourself to do something better, right? What that better is going to do, what that will be is where your passion and purpose drives you. But a clear underlining factor is it is now time for each of us to reflect and see where we are headed if AI takes our goals. And that is a very clear underlining factor. There is no ifs and buts there. It is matter of why, when. Correct.
Only thing, best thing to you need to upskill yourself.
Yes.
And that's going to help you to build your career. True. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's been a great conversation with you, Srinath. And if I ask you that, what are the 3 pro tips for my audience or upcoming HR professional or any HR fraternity? What are your 3 pro tips?
3 pro tips for HR fraternity is be empathetic. Okay. Be more human, because that is irreplaceable, and collaborate much better. Without collaboration, you're not going to face the challenges of now and future in any manner. Right? The days of individual brilliances still exist, but with collaboration, your challenges have become bigger with systems and practices and geopolitics and environment. So you have to collaborate more. You have to be more empathetic and always look at the locus of being human.
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Raj. Thank you so much, and I thank the Leadership Podcast series once again. You have been able to help leaders share their experiences with a lot of energy, and I hope this will make a positive impact even in one person's life.
Thank you so much. You narrated a lot of stories, lot of idea, strategy, what you use. That definitely going to help us 100%. And I also learned a lot of things from this episode. And your energy is amazing.
Thank you so much.
The best takeaway, what I'm taking from this episode is like uh, reading 10 to 15 pages every day. Definitely, I'm going to do that one.
Oh, yes.
Happy. That's one of the takeaway what I'm going to take. And thank you so much for inspiring me, especially to do these things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vasura. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming and create that. You share a lot of things to us. And this is a gift, as a sustainable gift, the brand called Rafter for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes.
3 takeaway from this episode. The number 1 is empowering rural talent. It's very important as a HR leader or organization, how you look into to empowering rural people, because they also have right to lead their life as metropolitan city. And this is one of the takeaway what I took from this episode. The second one is reading books at least 10 to 15 pages every day. This is one of the inspired by this episode, because once you start focusing on reading books, definitely going to develop your knowledge. You're getting a lot of ideas. You're going to your mindset going to be changed. And this is second takeaway what I'm going to take from this episode. The third is sustainability. It's very important how organized moving towards the way of lifestyle of sustainability. How can you contribute from your domain? Like irrespective of any kind of a domain or industries, how can you contribute to the mother nature? How can you protect your environment? That's what I love this topic in sustainability. These are my 3 takeaway from this episode. If you like this episode, please do show some love by hitting the button of subscription, and please do share with your HR community, friend and circle. See you in the next episode.